Share sponsor Lui Nishma Asam Yakshom Labas Yitzchok. Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. Starting a new Masechta, Masechta Bava Metzia. The second leg, you could say, of what the Gemara told us, at least according to one opinion. And then the Masechta Bava we learned the Kula Nizikin Masechta Hachasi. Masechta Hachasi is one Masechta called Nizikin. Many of them the first will learn. What does it mean? All Nizik is one Masechta. Bava Kama, Bava Metzia, Bava Basu. To an extent, as the Tosh Yom brings, we have also in Maseches Kelim, one of the big Masechtas of Seder Taharis. It's also split into three. It's really one big Masechta with 30 prakim. Every 10 prakim is considered to be one Bava, one gate. But by Niziki, the same thing. You have Bava Kama, Bava Metzia, Bava Basho, which means the first gate, the middle gate, and the last gate. And we're starting with Maseches Bava Metzia. Bava Metzia is not, as my Rebbe in school, remember when we learned that as kids, we started learning Elim Metzia. He says, don't think Bava Metzia is called Metzia because of the Metzias of finding things. You spell differently. Metzia means Lashon middle. It's the middle section of Maseches Nezikin, and that's the idea of Bava Metzia. That's the first thing Bava Metzia. So Tosh already points out that although the Gemara told us in the end of Bava Kama that Kula Nezikin Chad Masechta, it's not mamish one Masechta. Not like it's Mashmos, Tosis Yom Tiv, that the Seder Nezik is one big Masechta divided into three. Here it's really separate Masechtas. They have just nafkamina for the fact that it's one Masechta regarding Machlekes V'Chakastom, the discussion we had there in the Gemara Bava Kama. But in general, when Masechtas Bava Metzia is a separate Masechta, and that's how it starts as a separate Masechta. But let's start first of all, we'll dive straight into the Mishnah, and we'll see something interesting about the Mishnah as we go. Zok the Mishnah. Shnayim oichzim betalis. Two people holding one talis, holding one baguette. Zeh yomer ani mitzasio, v'zeh yomer ani mitzasio. One says, I found it. His friend said, I found it. Zeh yomer kula sheli, v'zeh yomer kula sheli. One says it belongs to me. The other one says it belongs to me. We will see in the Gemara why you need to have the double lashon. I found it. You found it. It's mine. It's mine. Or it's the same thing. Each one says, I found it. It means it belongs to me. Yeshiva she'ein lo b'pachos mechetzio. A person has to do, each one of them will do a shul. If he doesn't have less than half, at least he has 50%. V'zei sheva she'ein lo b'pachos mechetzio. The second one will also do a shul. If he doesn't have less than half, ve'echloiku. And then they'll divide it. So if each one says, I own the whole thing. I own the whole thing. So what do we do in that case? We split it. We divide it into two. Each one gets a portion. So if each one gets a portion, so you have to do a shvur that at least this portion is mine. That's what the shvur. Shvur is, we have a shvur. It's a shvur, as we'll see in the Gemara, that the shvur is a shvur they're abanon. It's a shvur that Rabbanan said, I don't want other people to come and take things from their friends. So therefore we required each one to do a shvur, and the shvur is to say, at least the 50% you're giving me belongs to me. Right? That's the Kudurisha. The big Chakira in the Achorim, which really is almost beferish in the Rishonim, these two tzdotim. The Chakira is, when I say, I have two people, and I'm saying that he says all mine, he says all mine, he does a shvur on at least half, he does a shvur on at least half. How do I treat it? Do I say really the pshat is that each one of them is holding the entire talis? Each one holding the whole thing. But I need to do a pshara. I have your fight. What am I going to do? So what's my pshara? What's my how do I compromise? I say each one will take half. But it's not really the only half. Each one is holding the talis. I look at it. Each one is holding the entire talis. He's holding everything. He's holding everything. How do I go and divide between them? I say I split into half. Or the pshat is if two people are holding a talis, the pshat is that each one is holding half. That's the idea. Each one is holding only half. I'm not holding more than half. If I'm holding half and my friend is holding half, each one is holding half. If you look at the Lashon Taisis, which we'll point out in a moment, Taisis says, he says in the 4 lines down, each one has a half. Down at Sadi, we have Eidus by the Tofis Hai Didehu. He's holding it half, so it belongs to him. The other one is holding the other half. That belongs to him. So Tosfos learns clearly, it's almost the favorite of Tosfos. The way I look at it is each one is holding only half.
That makes the Chara, according to that later on in the Mishnah, where it talks about if each one is holding half because he's oiches, and you don't care what his time is.
Oh, very good.
Later on.
So Shuli is asking you a good question. We're going to get to later in the Mishnah we didn't get to yet. Then according to that, what do you care what they're saying? You should be caring only about what they're holding, according to Tosfos. So that's a good question. The Acharim discuss it. The Acharim want to say it has to be both. Meaning you have to hold out it, and then it can hear what you're saying. If you're not holding on to it, not. No, but let's say, holding on doesn't make it yours. But if you're holding on to it, and you're saying it's yours, then you have a taina. So it goes like this. So we have your Mechlokas Rishonim. Some Rishonim learn the pshat is I'm holding the whole thing. And I'm saying I hold on, all this belongs to me. The other guy is holding the whole thing, and he's saying all belongs to me. What do? I split it as a pshara. Tosfos learned the pshat is that each one is holding only half. I have two people, each one is holding only half. And that's what I'm holding. And that's why I believe you when you're saying half, because you're holding half. Now, that is the Nekuda. We'll get back to this a lot. This daf we're not probably go into too much, especially the time that we have. But later, as we go forward in the next topic, we'll see it. But this is Negya to Inyan. One Inyan is what Tosfos says over here. Tosfos asks a question. Tosfos asks, why do you say Achleiku? We know there's a cloud. That's the Tosfos we just read. Starts with a question. We have a cloud. He brings it from the Gemara that we'll say in Chpek Chazkas Avatim. What's called the Alim Gvar. I have two people that are fighting. They say fight it out. Whoever wins the fight will get it. So Tosfos asks why here is different. And this is open to a big discussion that we're showing. When do I say Kol Da'an Gvar, when not? Tosfos gives us the rule. The when don't say Kol Da'an Gvar is when a guy's holding on to half, because again, Tosfos learns that each one is holding half. So I'm holding on to half, I'm not just coming and fighting about something I'm not holding on to. And it could be emes. It's possible they're both holding it. The ones that tell us. It's possible they both found the Metzia together. It's possible they're not lying. So if I have these two conditions met, they're holding on to it, to what they're saying. Plus that they could be saying the emes, then I say achliku. But if I don't have both conditions met, so then I say they'll fight it out. And there's several in the sugya, several shittas in the Rishonim that argue. Some say you have to have only one of the conditions. Some say you have other conditions that you have to have. This is what you have. This is what Tosfos already used the idea that each one is holding half. But each one is holding half. That's what makes it into some chazaka, some idea of holding on to. One more thing, just to say to get to this, and this will leave this topic for today, and that is, there's a Gevaldik in my real disket. In my real disket says, the Mishnah gives us a very simple case. If Reuven and Shimon, Reuven says, I own everything, Shimon says, I own everything, you divide it in half. What happens if you have Reuven, Shimon, and Levi? In the case of my real disket goes on to, he says, Reuven says, I own the whole thing. And Shimon and Levi, each one says, I own half. Now what happens in that case? What if there are three people involved over here? We're not going to a huge cheshbon on our real disc, very gishmak cheshbon. But the one that comes over here is, are we doing a pshara, or are we saying we know what happened? When you speak about my real disc's case, we don't have a pshara so much, because we don't know what's happening, because you have three people arguing. So it's not clear. In our case, you could say, each one is holding half. But what happens, I think was bothering Struli before, what happens if I have more people? What happens if I have different tightness? How do I see it? You don't see it so clearly anymore. So then maybe you won't apply this concept. If you're saying it's a pshara is the way I don't see what you're saying. I'm just taking what you're saying and trying to do a compromise, so then maybe it will work. Let's say it. So that was just a nice nikudis that we have right away in the beginning of the Mishnah. Because this is the Mishnah, it says, Zoim rekula shali, v'zoim mechetze shali. One says, I own the whole thing. The other one says, I own only half. Meaning, I don't own the whole thing. The one who says, I own the whole thing, should do sure I have at least 3/4. Why? Because that's what I want to give him. I want to give him half. He's saying, half, we'll give it to him because nobody's disputing it. And I want to give him another quarter. And so for 3/4, you go and you say, that is do sure. The one who says he has half, he says, sure, I don't have less than a quarter. And he made so the one who says I own half, How does it work over here? Reuben and Shimon argue. Reuben says, I only hear the whole thing. Shimon says, I agree that 50% is yours. 50% there's no dispute. The other 50% they said is yours, it's not yours, it's mine. So they split the other 50%. Reuben's going to do shul on the 3/4, and Shimon will do on the quarter. Asked the Rishonim, why is Reuben doing shul on the 3/4? Shimon agrees to Reuben that 50% belongs to him. So the 50% there should be no shul. Say the Rishonim different answers. One simple answer is brought down the Rishonim is maybe if the Reuben does a shul on a quarter, maybe the quarter that he's doing a shul on is the quarter that we're with the other quarter. I want to know that for sure that he's not. We want to know through the shul that he's saying the truth. So that's why he has 3/4 if he has a quarter.
This is a real pshara. This has to be a pshara. That's what I mean. According to what we've learned.
So according to Tosfos, you have to say, very good to is saying, because he's saying only half, so it's tying it defines what he's holding. If you're saying I'm holding only half, and you're holding to the chayfetz, you're basically saying I'm holding only a quarter. Because it's as if because the way it works is,
I'm both holding it. I'm being honest. I hold it.
No, the pshat is, so when you hold on to a talus, and you're holding on to the edge, and you're saying the other 50%, I'm not arguing, so basically you're giving the case in front of me. What's the case? Me and Reuben are holding on this half. Okay? Let's see it for now. Okay.
Each holding, when the nine less than talus, each one is holding, they're not
There's what to discuss over here. I agree. And what to discuss. That's what Tosfos wants to say when you have the 50%. Okay. Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah. You have two people riding one animal. One is riding and one is manik the behemoth. He's walking the behemoth. Similar case. We talk about an animal. They're not holding on to the animal, which one is riding the animal and the one is pulling the animal. So then is Zay Shava Sheila Bapochas Bechetzio, Zay Shava Sheila Bapochas Bechetzio. Again, you divide it. You say each one does a shvuah that he doesn't have less than half. And you split it. If they both admit, or there's 80. Let's say what it is. As Rashi points out, that what's the chiddush? If there's 80 or they both admit, what's the debate? What do you have to tell me? So here we have the Rashi points out the Gemara Daf Ches Amud Aleph. You will see we learn from here that one could get a Metzia for his friend. There's something to learn from the end of the Mishnah that we'll get to later in the Gemara. Now, another area just to mention the Tosfos, because the biggest side is the Tosfos, especially in the beginning of the Sechta. Tosfos asks why the guy who says that he is holding half of the beged, right? He's holding only half. He could have said he holds the whole thing, right? He didn't. So why does he have a migoy? Migoy that could have said that that whole thing belongs to me. Believe me when I'm saying it's only 50%. At least give me 50%. Why give me only 25%? That's a question of Tosfos over here.
Both can say.
Yeah, but one says I own the whole thing. So there's no migoy anymore. Reuben says I own the whole thing. Shimon says I own only half. So he says so Shimon will get only a quarter. Why? I could have said the whole thing. Migoy. So Tosfos over here says the reason is because which means you're saying this 50%, the other 50% is not yours. So who does it belong to? It belongs to Reuben. Now I want a migoy to take out the money for Reuben. Migoy lohoitzi, to say a migoy, the koyach of migoy to take out money you can't do. That's what Tosfos learns. The Ramban holds a migoy lohoitzi, yeah, you do say. So we should have to come to other ideas. One of the ideas that's brought down is what based on Tosfos. The end of the end of Tosfos also is what the Rishonim bring, the idea of migoy mi mamon lemamon. You want me to believe you that this 50% is yours because I could have asked for another 50%. So you want a migoy, you want me to believe you on this because you could have asked for more. That migoy you don't say. This is very clear according to what we learned.
It's not a classical migoy?
No. A classical migoy is, I come to a person and say, I owe you, you owe me $100. Let's say, I'm not going to go now to the case. The guy says, I owe you 50. Let's take this case, even though it's not the halacha. He says, no, I owe you 50. Believe me, I could have said I owe you 0. That's the same woman. This woman, you come and tell me, I tell you, I admit. So believe me that I owe you only 50 more. So that's another case. Here you want to go from one half to another half, so not necessarily you could do that. Okay, now, so that was the Nekuda Tosfos, and we mentioned Mom Lamai. Just to mention, Mamish, in one Nekuda, and this will be Marchiv more in the Shur Machshava and the Daf. When we start the Mishnah, it says, Shnayim oichsim metalis. You have two people hold a talis. Whatever you hold belongs to you. So as already the Maharal already mentions, it says in Chazal that Akash Baruch Hu gave the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu. Akash Baruch Hu's hold the luchos are 6 tvachim. Akash Baruch Hu was holding on 2 tvachim, and Moshe Rabbeinu was holding 2 tvachim. Shnayim oichsim metalis. Chetze shaloi, chetze shaloi. So half belongs to Hashem, half belongs to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu represents Am Yisrael. Half the Torah belongs to us. Okay, what is that? So what's Daf Kamina? So one simple understanding is that Torah belongs to us. That's the Chiddush. That's to get to this. And the Shom Achshav B'Mayach with Avodas HaGishuni says a beautiful, beautiful thing. How does this Mishnah begin in the Masech to connect to the end of Masech's Bava Kama? But we'll leave it for that. Let's go on now. So Gemara. So as we mentioned, we read the Mishnah. The Mishnah seems to be repetitive. The Mishnah says, I found it. It's mine. Why do you have to say both? Liddi chado, chado. Let's just say one. So when you're right, chado ktani, it says only one. That's what it means. That's not another case. I found it, and therefore it's mine. Meaning we're not talking about different cases, but he says it's basically one title. I found it, and it's mine.
What's the second part?
What we're talking about?
When one person says, I own half.
No, that's a different case. That's a different case. But I'm saying in this case, the first case of the Mishnah, what's going on? So why have to add these words? So you're saying it's not different cases. It's one case. Why do you have to say the words of kulashili? The Mishnah doesn't say extra words for no reason. It says, if you'd say, I found it, I would think the mitzvah means you saw it with your eyes. And that's good enough. Even though it didn't come to his hands. By seeing it is kind. That's why it says it's shmai to say that you can be kind with riyah with your eyes. We do know there's something called habato behefker kani. If you look at hefker, you could be kind in such a concept. Says yes, but that's only we're talking about only in a case that there is some ma'aser. That's what Tosfos learns. There's some ma'aser. Yeah, he did some fence, something he did to be kind. That's what Tosfos learns over here. Others want to say that there's no dispute. But by us, we're talking about that there's a dispute. So in a regular case that you don't have any ma'aser, just looking at it is not good enough. How do I know it from the words that says kulashili? Says the Gemara, Umi matzas omas my mitzasir. So you want to tell me the word mitzasir means I saw it? We saw this in the Gemara and then Bava Kama. Umatzaso de asoliade mashvo. Matzasa means it came to your hand. That's what matzasa means. Says the Gemara, you're right. In umatzaso de kro de asoliade mashvo. Matzasa means it came to your hand. Talking there regarding giving aveda to a goy. So he said, you don't have to give aveda to a goy. Don't think even if you just found it in the street, even if it came to your hand, you don't have to give it back to the goy. Because matzasa means it came to your hand. So of course in the pasuk, matzasa means it came to your hand. The Mishnah doesn't use the lashon of the pasuk. The Mishnah uses the lashon of the world, of people. When the chazal omani ashkach, a person usually when he sees something, he says, I found it, even though he didn't actually take it into his hands. Even though he didn't come to his hand, I would think by seeing is good enough. Tani kul shali, that's what the Mishnah says, kul shali. Is not koine with only seeing. Says the Gemara, "V'lid nekulu shali v'loy bay ani mitzasiyah." Just say the word kulu shali. That's saying ani mitzasiyah. I know it has to come to your head. Any other Mishnah that says the lashon mitziyah means by seeing. The Tana ani mitzasiyah, but the Tana kulu shali. Our Mishnah says both mitzasiyah and it's fine. Why? The Mishnah Yisera Ashbeinon from the extra Mishnah we learn the real Likon. That's what I want to tell you. You should know the word mitzvah. It could be here, it's not mitzvah. They didn't find it. Whatever it says mitzvah, maybe it does mean they just saw it. So I want to tell you the re'ir is not kohen.
What would you think that re'ir is then?
Because that's the losh of the B'yodam.
There's no Mashiach. There's nothing.
No, if we talk about a case, there's nobody else who says it's his. 2 people saw it. Shaila is, we found the mitzvah in the street, so I saw it first. So that's fine.
No picking,
Not picky, because maybe if it belongs to somebody, of course you can't be kohen if you didn't take it out. But here it doesn't belong to anybody. I would think that by just seeing it, you're able to acquire it. Okay? Says the Gemara, you want to tell me the Mishnah is talking about the same case? That can't be. It says zeh 4 times. It says zeh 4 times. According to you, it's on the same case. Just say zeh twice. He says these two. He says these two. So we have different Amorim. Either Apapa or Shir Ba'ashi. Some say it's Kdi. Who's Kdi? Either Kdi, Rash, Ipshat is the name of a Moira. His name was Kdi. Or it means we're not mentioning. We don't have to say who it is. The what? Ratio b'Metzia, the safe, just to mention, Baratzchais over here speaks about who's Kdi. That's Baratzchais here, Metzia the base. It's more ratio b'Metzia, the safe of Mekah Memka. The beginning of the Mishnah talks about a Metzia. They found something in the street. The same is talking about Mekach Memkar, talking about someone who bought something. And the Shaila is who bought it. It wasn't explained soon in the scenario. Why you need both cases? Why you need both cases? Says the Gemara in that base and one base. Tano Metzia, if it's say Metzia, have a mino, we would think Metzia the Ramu Rabban Shua Ha Metzia, you have a Shua. A person who's more to himself. He says, he's not losing anything. What's a Metzia? He won the lottery. Probably bad day. You know what? Comes Reuven found the Metzia. Shimon says he's very jealous. Why does he deserve it, not me? I'll say I found it. That's why you have to put a shvua to come and say that, to require him to say the truth. But Mekach Memkar is not a free gift. He paid for it. So we'll assume that the guy is not lying. Says more if he would say Mekach Memkar, who the Ram Rabban Shuale by Mekach Memkar you have a shvua Mishudim Moy gives the Moy Eter Chavoid Mei Kayoy V'Anad Mei Kayavino. As we'll see in a moment, they both paid for it. He says, listen, I paid for it, he paid for it, we'll split it. How should the Tzrichel Didi? I need it. Ashkeleano, I'll take this one. Lazy Litrach Lisbon says, what happened? We went to the market. I needed a car. He needed a car. I paid for it. He paid for it. But I needed more than him right now. He'll go buy another one. To buy, you always can buy another one. So that's what he says. I'll say that I got it first, because I can't deal with it right now. But by Metzia, you can't say go find another one. I found the Metzia. I found something over here that nobody has. So you can come and tell me go find another one. You can't just tell someone to go find another one. So there, each one has a reason to claim why a person would have given himself a heter to lie. And that's the idea of this rule.
What's the case of Mekach?
Oh, the Gemara is going to get to that. That's the next line of the Gemara. Next line of the Gemara is what exactly the case. But what we need to know in this moment is, they both paid for it. The question, who's the one who acquired it? Now, Taisis, Rashi and Taisis, we're showing here, they had discussed, these cases talking about a case that he is saying the truth. Meaning, he's more there because he's maybe saying the truth, maybe he's exaggerating. We don't know. We're going to try to figure it out. Let's say we talk about a case that they're lying. What's the case that Rashi and Taisis discuss? One says, I sold this beged. The other one said, I did it. They're lying. One of them is lying. In our case, we're saying maybe he's not lying, maybe he gave the money, he found it. What case in a case that that they're lying? So Rashi says, you don't do chalukah. Why? Because one of them is lying. I'm not going to give you the money. One of you is saying a lie, so I'm not giving to both of you each half. Toitza says, in that case, you for sure do a shvur. In our case, we didn't say a chiddush. Maybe it's more heter, maybe not. But by there, for sure, you're going to do a shvur. And the shorish of machlekes is, the basic shorish machlekes is more to it. Do we say chashud ha'mamoina, chashud ha'shvur? Rashi says, one of you is lying. I'm not giving you a shvur because you're going to lie again. And Teresa says, no. People are maybe going to steal, but nobody's going to take an oath, and it's going to be a lie. So therefore, put him in a shvur. It's interesting, machlekes we're showing what happens if I know they're lying. It says now the Gemara going into Binyamin's question. It says the Gemara, just see who the guy who paid for it. Saying, well, they both paid for it. One, the seller did it willingly, and one was Bal Korcha, one he forced. I don't know which one is the one who said he agreed to and which one he was forced. So that's why, so comes Reuven and says, I bought it midaitu. And the moich, the question is, what does it do with the moich? That's really where that's where the Rishayin jump into here. Rashi says, when the Gemara asked the question, Rashi asks, let's ask the moich. Right? Meaning, when the Gemara says, let's see who you took the money from. Maybe they're arguing who they took the money from. Right?
Well, what's the case? One willingly.
One forced the moicher to sell to him, and one the moicher sold to him willingly. So one is a good mechir, one is not a good mechir. Shiloh, who is who? Which one is which? Reuben says it's me, Shimon says it's me, I did the right one. He says I did the right one. Now Rashi says over here, he brings the one Kedusha Daf and give him a little base. That says, Nemur ba'amekach lo yimar lezeh machart lezeh machart. Talk about a person, the seller could say who I sold it to. Then we're not going into this because we don't have time also. But Rashi Tosis go into this case like more in Kiddushin. Can one test? Can the moicher say it's mine or not? So Rashi goes on and says that the case of the Gemara in Kiddushin continues and says he's not Naaman. Says Rashi, you know when he's not Naaman? When he took from both. He says I got money from both, but Reuben gave it to me willingly. Shimon gave it to me when he forced me. That I don't believe in. I don't believe in that case. Why? Said the Rashi because it's not Eidu Sanim, he doesn't remember. But to say who he got money from, that he does have Ne'emonos. That's what Rashi learns. Tosis argues. Here, this is a huge sugya regarding Eid Echod HaMesayer. When you have one Eid that helps one guy, how does that change the case? Do we say over here, let's see, our case is the Moicher. Is it Ne'emun and Ne'emun? Why is that Ne'emun? That's 1 8. 1 8 is helping one of the guys. One says I bought it, the other guy says I bought it. And you have Eidim Meseyah. Does Eidim Meseyah work or not work? Several shittas in the Rishonim, many Kudus and Nachredim, very, 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 very important. Rav Kiva Eger, some Arami Rottenburg that the Rosh mentions, a big sugya. We don't have time now to go into it, but just to know that there is a big discussion in the Rishonim, how do we treat Eidim Meseyah? And 1 8 that helps one of the guys. Says the Gemara, Leim Baslisid look at bananas. The Churamish doesn't work like bananas. If you go to bananas, Bananas claims I'm not going to allow two people to lie. Right? Rashi says, what's the case? The case that we're talking about, that someone went and gave money to the storekeeper, and he said, right, the Baal Bayis told the Chedvoni, give my kid chitim bedina. Right? You give him wheat, I'll pay you later. And then the storekeeper says, I gave it to him. And he says, I never got it. Right? So they both come in taina against Baal Bayis. The question is, they both do a shvur. That's what it says over there. But one of them is lying. So comes the bananas that says one of them is lying. I'm not taking shvur for them. I can't allow someone to do a shvur shrav. So the Chur Bayas also, one of them is lying. Says the Gemara, I feel taking bananas. There, one of them is for sure is not true. They made a mistake, but it's a lie. Here, not necessarily could be the one they're saying the truth. Maybe they both picked up the Metzia together. Or maybe they both bought it together, as the Rishonim point out. Says the Gemara, Sukkah says, whenever I don't know what to do, I split. Without a shvur. And you have to do a shvur. So the Gemara, want to go through Rabbanon? Rabbanon say, and when you have a dispute, you leave where it is. So says the Gemara, if you want to tell me Rabbanon, it's good if you say it's Rabbanon. When two people are not holding on to it, there I don't know, so I leave it where it is. Talk about Shoshan against a Paro. Right, you have an ox coring up a cow. We don't know what happened over here. Here they're both holding on to it. So come here, I come and divide b'shvur. In other words, here I don't have, I leave it where it is. Here they're both holding on to it. One way that Chayim say it, they both have chazaka. Going back to Taisus in the beginning of the Amud. Each one is holding on to half. Here my tzumchus, be hold like tzumchus. Hashto. There they're not holding on to it. You divide without a shvuah. Here they're both holding on to it. Look, so of course what? Of course you'll do without a shvuah. More of a reason. Shvuah, you're taking out money for somebody. Says the most, I feel suchus. You could say our Mishnah goes with suchus. Ki Amar suchus shema v'shema. Suchus says when it's a maybe. Sharish the guy's the paro. If I have an ox going a cow, I don't know what happened over here. They're not sure. Maybe he did gore the child, maybe he did not gore the child, they're not sure. When it's clear, they're both saying clear, maybe there he does a crash for. So that was answer number one. Answer number one, when Sukkah says you need no shua, is when they both are maybe. When they both are vadai, you do need a shua. Saying over the Rabba Bar Abuna, the Omar Sukkos, Afilu Bori, Michael, Rabba Abuna said, the Sukkah says even Bori. Afilu Tema Simchus. Kateri Sukkos. Ki Omar Sukkos, Eicha de Ika Drora de Mamoino. Eicha de Leka de Drora Mamoino Loi. Sukkah spoke about only you have Drora de Mamoino. When you have Drora Mamoino, not. What does it mean when you have Drora de Mamoino? Rashi says Drora Mamoino, there's someone who's losing money. Here it's a Metzia. Talk about the first case of the Mishnah. It's a Metzia, nobody's losing money. So that's why you can come and require shvuah. If you have a Jordan of money, someone's losing money, I don't require it. That's how Rashi learns. Taisa says Jordan of money, you have a suffix beloy tanusei. Without them coming, you go to basin. What happened over here? I don't know. Here, if they don't come, I don't assume it belongs to anybody. So when I don't have a suffix without them, I require a shvuah. If the suffix comes without them, I don't. So more of a lav kavachemer is a kavachemer. Also, they could draw them on there, each one has a little bit of a taino. Right? Rashi says you can lose money. Or there's a suffix without the taino. So they want to have given one with aleph. You could say everything belongs to each. You divide without a shvuah. Below shvuah. How could the lake draw them on? Here there's no suffix on its own. The lake, you could say belongs to both. Like kol shekin, right? So l'chora, of course, you should have. You should not require a shvuah. Says the Gemara, you're right. Afilu teima suchus. Even if you want to say suchus, shvuah zo midirabanani. Really, you're not required to do shvuah. It's a shvuah derabanan. Kedab yechad shvuah zo takaras chachamim yit takaras chachamim shlei kol echad ve'elo choylech v'toike b'talis shechaveiroi v'oimer shalihu. It's a chachamim. I don't want people to go and start taking belonging to somebody else. Take it for Tishchaver. Shabbanim required a shvuah, so here it's a special shvuah. This belongs to the sugi over there. Be'ez Hashem, in tomorrow's daf, we'll start from this nekuda of Sumchus. This was the answer to the question. Sumchus does not require usually a shvuah. Here there's a special shvuah because it's a special takana derabanan. Say there.